What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Pure Positivity, where we don't just talk pet wellness, we freaking tear the lid off of it. My name's Bobby, my beautiful wife Eden here.
Hi.
We got our pets around here, but our little man, the star of the show, likes to say, "Hello, I'm Carlito." Yes, sir. Welcome back. Today's episode is called Born to be Raw, and you'll see why real quick. This guy, he'll wax all day about raw right here. We're joined today by the fierce and fearless founder of Girls Gone Raw. This is a movement, not just a brand. These women are shaking things up in the pet food industry with radical transparency, regenerative farming, and a wild respect for the whole animal. They've built the carnivore crate, they've partnered with real farmers, and they've said no to cutting corners in a world obsessed with convenience. This isn't your typical pet chat, folks. This is about rewilding the way we feed, heal, and connect with our animals and even ourselves. So whether you're curious about raw or raw to the core, this is going to be a good one for you guys. Lean in, because we're born to be raw. We got Lauren Bex today from
Hey.
Girls Gone Raw. Hello. Welcome to the
Nice to
show.
meet you. Yeah, and I love that rewilding.
Yeah.
I definitely want to touch on that when we get to it. That's such, I feel like, an integral part of me as a person and my whole kind of angry philosophy and whatever punk rock raw feeding or something like that,
Yeah, that's awesome. We share that same type of philosophy, so I'm sure we can talk a lot about all this stuff.
Yeah.
We're not just raw here as well. Like we're all about it. We're radically real about it. So basically, what can you tell us? What was the gateway drug to this human transformation of helping pets with their feeding?
Well, it's a combination of things. Really, it was a combination of my passion for biology and anatomy and also cancer and just like the fact that it just kept following me. You know what I mean? 3 out of 3 female Labradors that we had got mammary cancer, and we, by the end, I mean, we were raw feeding. We were doing primal, which at the time was what we knew. And, or we were doing origin, which at the time, that was the good dry food. And then before that, it was Eukanuba, but we were always I know my mom was always trying to research and try to do her best, and it's tough because there's not much control that I had over it. But growing up watching my mom struggle with this, and then, the last two developed cancer, both I think around 7 years old, and both of them lived well into their teens. But when I say my mom probably, like, she could have bought a house with how much money she spent just on holistic treatments for our yellow lab, but she lived to almost 17 with her cancer completely in stasis naturally. And it was just like outrageous, you know? I feel like such a punishing epidemic for our pets because nobody, I think, well, I don't want to say nobody because there's those sketchy people out there, but nobody in our space and nobody that's listening to this goes in not wanting to do anything other than the best for their dog. You know
Yeah,
what I mean? But there's a
absolutely.
lot of misinformation out there, and some of it you need a freaking PhD to decode to even be like, oh, I think I got hoodwinked. And a lot of this for me, yes, I have to pay my bills. Yes, the business is important. A lot of it for me is getting a platform and a voice because I know what my intentions are, and my intentions are to help educate people and to help kind of empower them to make positive choices for their pets. Whether it's one treat at a time, or whether it's switching up your diet, or whether it's, going to a holistic vet and getting more, um, whole body support and things like that. It really was working in the pet food industry, working at a zoo, working in a small pet store, talking to these people coming in every day with yeast infections, and at the same time watching my own pets struggle with cancer and yeast infections and arthritis. And it was like enough is enough.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
when I got to the point where I could have this platform, and then it's not huge, I only have what, like not even 6,000 followers, but it's enough to where I'm impacting people. And then I get to do amazing podcasts like this. And the imposter syndrome is real because I'm like, who the heck am I to tell people what to do? But I've spent so many years talking to vets and professionals and companies and researching and trial and erroring with my own pets. That's really the baseline of all of this. is
That's
just to
amazing.
try to put tools in people's toolboxes and empower them to do better for their pets.
That's really incredible.
Yeah.
The imposter syndrome thing is that, a lot of the stuff what you said hits home. We're just trying to make a difference in a world that doesn't
Yeah.
really care about making a difference. And so
Yeah.
what you're doing is amazing. So just keep doing it and don't listen to the naysayers because seriously, you're making a difference.
I was just in kind of like a little comment discussion. I think it was on Kimberly, gosh, I can't remember. Raw
Gautier?
feeding.
Yeah. Is it
Yeah, whatever.
Gautheier, I believe, is her
Yeah,
Yeah.
Kimberly Gaudier. She's great. And I really like the kind of community friendly attitude she has. Where like, hey, that's a controversial opinion, but you are entitled to your opinions. I see that you had good intentions with this versus a lot of our industry just like stabs, you know what I mean? And
Yes.
I commented on it in response to one of her posts the other day. I'm like, gosh, it's painful to watch what a this could be such a amazing constructive hive mind of holistic people, but then it's like high school, everybody just kind of grabs onto cattiness. Not everybody, but there's those little ones, and that kind of drags some of the good intention out of it. So I don't have a ton of friends in the industry. I'm very picky about who I kind of affiliate myself with, and I've disaffiliated after seeing kind of what people's intentions are. And it's you got to be careful because I want to keep it like pure almost, you know what I mean? There's people like myself, and I'm assuming like you guys who just are only out there and may want to do better. And I think that it's a powerful thing. And there's a solid chunk of us, and I'm like, you just have to sometimes wade through the bullshit to get there.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
high school, you know?
We just have to find each other, right?
I
Yeah.
feel to be a very lonely world, you know? It's like as soon as you think you got someone on board and get it, then something else happens. You're like, okay, but it's not my job to like constantly tell them to fix something, you know? And then
Yeah.
sadly, it's almost like you have to wait for something to happen to the pets for them to like, oh, that's what
Yeah.
they were talking about. And that part's hard on me too, because especially when you deal with puppies all the way to seniors, you know, and we're just trying to do good. So that's why I was like really excited to find you too on Instagram and stuff, because I was just like, oh my God, these girls get it. Like they get it. They're doing what we're doing in a sense, and they're
Yeah.
promoting the right ways, and they're doing it themselves. And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
super stoked to have you on here, because yeah, these
It's a
platforms
grind.
will push it out more. You know, like the more
I'm
we
still
keep putting
waiting
it
for
out
something to
there.
go viral.
I know,
Still.
right? Yeah,
Any
it
day,
just
any
takes
day.
that one.
Yeah.
It's one of those where like I'll spend hours working on a video or like one of those carousels and I'm like, man, this is a good one. This is gonna hit. And then you know what hits? The like stupid, memes that I get off of CapCut because I'm like, man, I have to post something today. Here's something saucy, and then I get like thousands of views, and I'm like, that's not the one that's supposed to work. Like,
Right.
gosh dang it.
I get
I
it.
think that's the way it is though. With even with like musicians and artists, they talk about like writing songs. They're like writing this masterpiece that they think is going to be
Yeah,
this number one hit, and then it ends up being the one that they wrote on a napkin. And it's like, oh, okay, well, it is what it is. Just keep putting it
it is
out
what it
there,
is.
and people are going to resonate with what they resonate with.
Yeah,
As long as it's your message, then that's all that really matters. And we just really love what you're talking about, what you're doing. Eventually, I'm sure there was just like it sounds like there was a time with your pets that you were just like, you know what, screw it, we're doing it ourselves.
literally. Literally. So Girls Gone Raw 1.0, I call it. I was working at Champion Pet Foods, which is, well, I guess technically used to be the owner of, or is Origin and Acana. Now they're owned by what, Mars or
Mars,
something
yeah.
like that. And I think I left that job after seeing some like just toxicity in the industry, and it's cutthroat. I mean, cutthroat. And at the same time, I think that was when my last dog and my sweet angel baby, Belle, had gotten her cancer and she had to have a mastectomy. And we're like, you know what, honestly, let's just see if we can do it ourselves. I started doing all DIY raw. I started making all my own supplements. So the first supplement that came with Girls Gone Raw was the turmeric paste because I was like kind of unemployed. I was like maybe 22 or so at the time working at Starbucks. And people were like, "Hey, can I buy that from you?" And I was like, "Yeah, yeah, you can
Mm-hmm.
actually." And so I was doing bone broth and a raw goat milk kefir and maybe a couple jerkies. But then really Girls Gone Raw 2.0 came in 2020. I put it to rest and I was like, I need to go get some more experience and then I'll come back to it. I kept my social media, I kept my website, everything like that. 2020 came around. Life had just knocked me in the ditch, and then there was my sweet angel dog there, to save the day. And I realized I'm like, this is it. I feel like the industry had changed then. We had more raw foods. We have more companies like Raw Feeding Miami was like kind of taking off, and people were much more open to it. When I was doing jerkies and stuff before, that was like a whoa, that's controversial. And now I'm slinging rabbit heads and frog legs and God knows what. And so 2020 really leaned into it and went full blast. And I met Fangs and Fur down in Columbus. They had opened during the pandemic. And I was like, hey, I noticed that you're always out of stock of these like body parts and stuff. Can I make them for you? I have machines, So that was really the start of it. And then now I feel like 80% of it is literally just body parts and like the jerky is just the fluff to it.
Yeah.
That's great.
Every time somebody's like, yeah, so like what do you do? And I'm like, oh, I dry body parts in my garage. I
Yeah, I
like to leave
mean,
it,
Yeah.
keep
you
them
were
guessing.
you were talking about rewilding and this badass, kind of philosophy that you guys represent. I mean, it's truly obviously rooted in purpose and not profit, which we talk about all the time as well.
Yep.
So like what would you say is the real philosophy behind Girls Gone Raw?
Yeah, I really just want to get our domestic pets back in touch with nature. Really, I feel like it's this systemic thing wrong with like the whole world. We're so far from our biology. And like, people talk about the touch grass thing, but do you know the biological changes that happen when you just go barefoot in grass? Or when you drink fresh water, or when you know what I mean? When you grow vegetables in fresh organic soil with no chemicals, I just feel like we've gotten so far from it. And our dogs that are so much closer to their wild biology have been ripped out of it and forced to adapt to this synthetic, chemical laden house pet life, which, most of them love. But it's hard for their bodies. And then what we're seeing is kind of the systemic shutdown. So my background is really heavy actually in wildlife. I said it was kind of the background of biology and everything. I worked at zoos and I worked in wildlife centers where I was chopping up rats for hawks and horse meat meatballs for polar bears and stuff. And then, you go and they're like, this is the freshest thing you can give your dog. Kibble. And I'm like, really? And then we put chemicals on them and then, you put chemicals in them and then they're sleeping on chemicals. And like I said, it was just kind of like you see this cascade effect throughout our dogs, and no matter your genetics, cancers are popping up, and it was like, yeah, enough is enough. So really, the root of everything is try to get our dogs back to nature. And so that's why I want to be a little pushy with the carnivore thing. So like with my t-shirts and my stickers and the carnivore crate, I want to kind of normalize your dogs are carnivores, and everyone's like, no, they're omnivores. No, they're facultative carnivores. That means that they need, or they do well with plant and diversity. They're not for cereal grains though. They don't need it to survive. You know what I mean? There's layers within that carnivore, and that's, I feel like you see kibble on kids cartoons and stuff. I'm trying to kind of normalize
Yeah.
carnivore, and I'm trying to normalize feeding meat. Like if you're feeding chicken jerky, try a chicken foot. Um, and then there's like that. I have all my products rated like G to R.
Smart. That's smart.
Scale people up,
Yeah,
That's
that's really
cool.
smart.
push the limit a little bit. But yeah, that's why I'm like I like that rewilding because that's a philosophy that they're bringing into agriculture now is like trying to bring back wildflower fields and honeybees and um, sustainable farming and things like that. It's the same thing that we're trying to do with our pets. We're just trying to kind of cut some of the crap and get them back to their biology.
That's beautiful. I don't think a lot of people realize this, and I mean this is obviously controversial, but we are
Isn't that
also
weird?
we are facultative carnivores as well, human beings, and what that means is it's science. This is a huge, project or research project that was done. That all it does is it shows that the more protein and fewer carbs that we take in our lives, the lower all cause mortality is, and if that's true for us, it's even more true for our dogs, and especially true for our obligate carnivore cats.
Yes.
So
Don't even
it's
get
a
me
wild
started
thing.
on cats.
Yeah, well, it's all part of what we do.
That's all we do. Yep.
Yeah, yeah. It's we can't talk about dogs without cats. They go hand in hand as far as we're concerned. But
I
yeah, we
agree. I
love.
have four. I wish people talked about it more, honestly, because I just think that
Yeah,
what we're doing to cats is I think abhorrent. What the industry's
it's
done to cats.
It's awful.
But
it's even worse. It's even worse what we're doing to cats, and and nobody realizes it. It's like right under their noses. Actually,
mhm.
people know. They just don't want to be reminded of it, and that's really
It's just easier to set out a bowl of orange nuggets for your
yeah.
cat and
Well,
let
my
them mind
cat's
their
picky.
business and be obese.
No
So
animal in nature is actually picky with their foods. So
I
that's
know.
the most common thing we hear. Oh, I have a picky eater. I don't care if it's a
The
dog or a cat.
picky
Oh, they're
cat
picky.
is it's a survival instinct
yeah,
Yep.
because of their biology. And I'm like, yeah, that makes sense because your cat wants to make sure that the thing it's eating is not going to kill them. That's why they survive so well outside unsupervised without your help.
yeah.
You
Exactly.
know,
It's
it's
instinctual, and I know that like with a cat, especially, and wild dogs, this is something you guys talk about at Girls Gone Raw. So I'd love to hear more about it. You guys use the whole animal,
hmm
and not just in a practical sense, like almost as a form of respect for the animal that lived a life. So can you break that down for the folks out there who are like whole animal?
Yeah. That's the one I get. I get a lot of hate for that. And I love the conversation. I think it's kind of silly to bring up the fact that I was once a vegetarian and I deeply understand it, but it wasn't because I don't think that we should be eating animals. I just think you look at, somebody posts a picture of a pig on Facebook and everyone's like, bacon. Like, that's so disrespectful. That's a life. Yes, you can love bacon and pork chops and whatever, but acknowledge that that's a life. Acknowledge that that animal is smart and friendly and has social structures. And so a lot of people think I'm like a sociopath because I have these philosophies and I also am chopping up rabbits on a daily basis. But I think that again with that rewilding, getting back to our roots, I love responsible hunting. I love like small farm homesteading, raising your own animals, processing your own animals. And it's not something that's practical for everybody, but I think that the more we can respect that, the better. Because it's not only better for the stock animal, the livestock, it's better for us and everything too. Compared to this mass factory farming. You can go for $2 at McDonald's and get a bacon cheeseburger that has probably 50 different animals worth of parts in there and not even acknowledge the fact that that was once a living, breathing soul. So with Girls Gone Raw, I like this kind of cyclical thing that we have where I'm able to work with my farmers to utilize the whole animal. So especially with rabbit, and that's one that I get the most crap for. We use the hide, we use the ears, we use the tail, the feet, the heads, the organs, the whole body. The only thing that doesn't get used is the intestines, which is kind of a sanitary thing. But if you're raising your own rabbits and stuff, I tell people all the time if you're raising and you're willing to do whole prey, I think that's such an amazing thing to provide for your animal if they're willing to do that.
Yeah,
Um, but I think it's so disrespectful to just take a cow or a pig or a chicken and cut off the choice parts and then
Right.
just chuck the rest to be ground as some either to be thrown away or to be ground into some like meat slurry, that's then dried and processed into nutrient extinction and thrown into a cheap kibble. What we're able to do is take the organs, the fur, and all of that, and really respect the nutrients and the biology behind that, and how that's designed to nourish our pets as predators. So, what
yeah,
does fur do for a dog? It has manganese, which supports so much of the body, but no, mostly like the tendons and ligaments, the skin, and then the fur is also amazing in the gut. There's just so much to it that goes unnoticed because it's gross.
Right.
yeah. And the fur is great for parasite control as
I
well.
want to mention this little lady actually caught a rabbit.
Yeah,
She's a little huntress, so it's like that was in her nature just to do that. If we weren't around and we didn't have anything, they would just be doing that. They'd be eating
Yeah.
rats and rabbits and everything else. And at the time, if we knew what we knew today, I would have just let her have it. But it was just kind of
That was
like,
hard.
ah.
I tell people that all the time because that's one of the biggest things I get. They're like, "Oh, my dog loves chasing rabbits in the backyard." I'm like, "That's good though,
Yeah.
because your dog is just cluing you in on what they like and what's working for their brain. If they have a prey drive, stimulate it
Yep.
Yeah.
So
constructively.
we've gotten in the past rabbit ears, and they love them, absolutely
Mhm.
love them, and it's
Make a
like
game of
really
it.
great to watch. Yeah.
Heat.
Stick it in a
Heat.
hole in the yard and make them find it. I love to do
Yeah.
enrichment games with fur.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
every dog has a nose, and all of them work. You know what I mean? They may not be as driven by it as some, but you can at least put it in a paper towel tube or a towel, wrap it up, and make a game of it. I love enrichment is like one of the biggest parts of it. It's like nutrition and enrichment all go into play into that carnivore wellness.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And
We're helping
I
them
think that it's
remember.
the most forgotten things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just helping them remember what it's like to be wild, and that's when you see them do it and just the joy, the pure joy that you see coming from this little thing that you love so much. It's like, it's a
Mm-hmm.
game changer.
Hmm.
It really is. And we wish it for everybody. And that's why
Yeah.
we do what we do. It's like when you finally get there, you just don't get it. You're like, you get there, everybody's on their own journey, right? But that's
Yeah.
why we do this. And that's why we talk about it till our face is blue with people like you, because we love it. And
And I
yeah.
like using like matter of fact stuff. And I'm like, this is not opinion. Your dog has cutting teeth. They
Mm-hmm.
have more scent receptors than anything else. They have extremely strong eyesight and hearing. Your dog is a predator, and they're
Yep.
built for that. They have a short, very like durable and acidic digestive system. Everything is designed to go in and get out. Is not meant to sit there and ferment. Horses and animals that are like herbivores have very long intestinal tracts that ferment and ferment and ferment because there's not a lot of nutrition to be easily gleaned from grass and stuff like that. Protein and animal sources, organs, things like that, it's digested really easily and they get that nutrition then out the other side. So there's not usually time for E. coli and things like that to manifest. It's not
Yeah.
that you should be feeding your dogs rotten meat, but they are designed. And I love having, like at markets and stuff, I love having that conversation with people because they'll be like, oh, not my foofy. And then I'll let them smell a quail chicken. This dog's pupils blow. And, they're like, oh, my God. And so that's why with the carnivore crate, I like pushing the limit a little bit. I always do one hairy item. I try to throw in something weird and like the last box, I pushed the limit a little bit, but I think I got like higher retention with that last crate than anything else. I did frog legs and fish heads and all sorts of weird stuff.
Well, let's dive into this carnivore crate since you're on it
Yeah.
right now. Let's dive in. Why is
Yeah.
this the hero of your lineup right now? Because it looks just fantastic for these guys.
It's fun. A lot of people, I think that they go to my site and they love the idea of it. Or like sites like mine, there's several out there, but they just don't know what to get. And a lot of people were like, can you just tell me where to start? And can you just make a box for me? I'm like, you're onto something. And, we like the idea of it, but then you maybe don't remember. I like the carnivore crate because I can curate it to hit different aspects of that natural lifestyle. So we did like an organic hemp toy. We did an all natural bug spray. We did CBD, like organic CBD treats around just so that people could have it in time for 4th of July. And then I'm not going to leak this. I love this will probably come out after my crate comes, but spoiler alert, we do have like some lick mats and enrichment feeders from a really cool small business, and they're festive and cute, which I like
That's
for
awesome.
this month's crate. And I just have so many cool things planned. So I think of these like rotating mystery items that I put in as kind of like taking my tools that I love and putting them into other people's toolboxes. Like maybe it's not something you'd buy on your own. Maybe you don't think your dog needs CBD. Here it is. Try it out. It's in your toolbox now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Maybe you didn't know that natural bug spray was so effective. Here it is now. Try it out. It's in your toolbox if you want to use it. Do you know what I mean?
For
Yeah,
sure.
Because a lot of
absolutely.
times you don't know to push the limits until you know that something exists. And I think that there's just such a wealth of cool companies out there that encompass so many different aspects of a natural and kind of crunchy pet lifestyle. And yeah, and as well as like I said, I kind of like to push the limit with the crates because I hate to say it, you're not choosing it, I'm choosing it for you. So
Yeah.
something fun. Like whereas you might not choose a rabbit foot, you're getting one and your dog's probably going to lose their mind over it. Now, I do have people say like, "Hey, rabbit foot is a no-go. Can you mark that?" Yeah. So I'm like, "That's fine. Now we know hair is not a thing. Fish isn't a thing." Um, and it's been really fun. A lot of people are like, this is they're like feeding with gloves or tongs or something, and their dogs
Yeah.
are ravenous over it. They're like, this is disgusting, but thank you. I'm like,
Yeah. It's awesome.
um, so yeah, I guess for people that don't know, the Carnivore Crate, I guess should have started with that, is our monthly subscription box. So we have two different sizes. We have the Feast, which is kind of my baby, and that's where I get to have the most fun with that $50 price point, and it has shipping included, which is cool. Um, so I get to have the most fun with that one. That one gets most of the bigger items. So we did beef scapulas that are like the size of my arm, and the beef ears. We'll see if I get to stick rabbit heads in there at some point, but I'm afraid I'll lose some people. Um, that's the one where people are like, maybe not. The whole face thing, but
Yeah.
it's just a really fun way to switch it up, and I don't always want to do like a whole big run of products because like God knows as it is, I think I have like 50 different SKUs. So making sure we're always like small batch rotating all of those. I don't really want to add any more to it, but my farmer will be like, "Hey, do you want to try some tendons? Do you want to try some hairy beef hide? I only have one of them," but I'm like, "I could stick it in the crate."
There you go. I love
So
That's
it.
cool.
it's a fun way for me to get to try new things and push the boundary, and it's really flexible. People can fill out a profile with all of their dog's preferences, their breeds, age, lifestyle, any allergies, or even just things they need to change. Like I have a couple of high uric acid Dalmatians that we try to avoid organ meats
Yeah.
and like anything that's high purine. And I have a pretty good system. We get like everybody gets a color coded profile card where we can mark down, and we go through and individually kind of tweak boxes if needed. But for a lot of people that are like, we love it, love everything, surprise us, that's where I
That's
get to
cool.
have fun because I'm like,
Heck
as
yeah.
it is.
If the listeners to this take one thing from this episode, it's this carnivore crate. This is something that is so cool because if you've never done any raw feeding of any kind, this is like a little like you can try a bunch of different little things, and you don't even know what you're going to get to try. Because like you said, some dogs, every dog is an individual. So some don't do well on this, they don't do well on that, and that way you can kind of figure out a few different things. So kudos to you
Exactly.
on coming up with this idea. What a cool way to do it.
Yeah.
And I don't, I started off with my social media. I started off kind of on that like very pro raw. And not that I'm not now, but I didn't like that I was kind of giving off like a kibble shamey vibe. And don't get me wrong, I don't want to not kibble shame, but it's not productive.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I wanna kibble educate. Um, like, yeah, that's fine. If that's what you can do and that's what you're willing to do, but you wish you could do better, that's why I come in and we're like, here's some resources for how to make your own bone broth. Here's how to source goat milk or duck eggs locally. And then a lot of times the treats that I'm selling to people are the only fresh foods that their dogs are getting. And if that's your comfort level is like a dried foot, that is so much better than nothing. It is. It's heated, so we're losing your enzymes and it's not exactly like a super bioactive food like a fermented goat milk or something like that. But you're getting fresh protein, you're getting fresh amino acids and things like that. And a lot of times, yeah, these people, that's the only fresh foods that their dogs are getting. But then it opens the door. Then they're like,
Mhm.
well, let's try some freeze dried. Okay, soak the freeze dried. If you're soaking freeze dried, you might as well get frozen raw.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If we can get people at least up to like adding in commercial raw toppers, like a Steve's, I like the Steve's nuggets. Or the patties. They're very kind of clean, but they're still whole food. They just look like a hamburger patty. They're not too intimidating. And then I have some really cool affiliate codes for brands that I love. And they're like, well, you're just doing this for the money. Certainly not. I don't get any money from any of these. I'm like, maybe sometimes they'll throw me a free box of food, but I am doing this because I trust these brands and I want to incentivize you to just try it out at a discount. Like, you know what I mean?
Yes, we do. And if
100%.
anybody thinks that we're doing this for the money,
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't even know what to say to that. To be
I know.
real, it's just it's an interesting perspective that folks have.
Tell that to my accountant.
So good for you, because like honestly, we've gone through somewhat of the same kind of steps of. It's almost like it's like a graduation where you finally you just start to realize like fighting this and fighting where people are at isn't going to help. You know, it's like where they're at is where they're at today, and you just give them a little bit of things like, hey, when you cut open a bag of kibble and you just like are like, whoo, do you ever ask like, could I do a little better? You know, and if you
Yeah.
are interested in that, that's what we're here for. So whenever you got questions,
Yeah, and like in the beginning of our journey, we were very, and we're named Pure Positivity, but we were very angry in the beginning, and we were just like kind of kibble bashing too. We'd be like hashtag kibble kills on like everything.
Yeah.
And then one day someone's like, you're kind of brutal with that. I'm like, well, they need to get it. But then
Yeah.
it's like, okay, we'll tone it down a little bit, I guess, but
You
also
isolate a lot of well-meaning people.
yeah,
yeah, and have some compassion for everybody because we all started at the same spot.
yeah,
None of us are trained to know anything else besides get a cup out of the bag of food and just throw it in a bowl and let it sit there all day until
Yeah.
you have something in your life that happens and you're like, wait a minute, that doesn't make sense. And hopefully that clicks for people before that. But we start so angry and sad. I mean, we were sad and crying and just like, I can't believe we're duped, And so to express that to people without making them angry or
Yeah.
have them be like, listen, it's totally natural and normal for you to be angry and sad, and that's part of the roller coaster of realizing we're all getting duped in our foods, and
Mhm.
not just ours but our what we read on their bags,
Human,
so
pet, kids,
yep,
medical,
all tied
everything.
in together, and it's maddening, and it drives us nuts, and it's so yeah, throughout time we figured out as well, like, okay, stop being so aggressive, I guess. And now he's so good now at like knowing how to talk to people, but I'm not gonna lie, I like being the maker in the background now. I'm like, I will do the making and the marketing and stuff because I'm too passionate or something, but
Yeah.
like,
I'm grateful for my sales background. I can take a no and I
yeah,
can turn it around. But it's
great.
not because I'm a skeezy salesman. It's because like this is not my job. This is my life. This is my passion. Yes, I need to pay my bills. Please, dear God, buy my stuff. I have a
right,
5-year-old that eats me out of house and home. We do all organic, no dyes, no whatever. You know what I
Yep.
mean? But my favorite conversation sometimes is the people that are like, no, 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 we don't do that. And then all of a sudden I start to explain some things. And then you get the people that are like, they figured it out and they're beating themselves up about it. And I'm like, this is not on you. This is
yeah,
Yes.
not your fault.
Yes.
They have languages to trick you. They have professional marketing teams to trick you into thinking that you're feeding your dog something good. It's like a little bit on you to whether you want to pick it up. The only time that it becomes on you is if you absolutely know better and you choose to do nothing about it at all.
yep,
Mm-hmm.
If
yep,
you know
Agree.
better and you're at least thinking about it and you're at least adding water. You're at least like, let's try some bone broth. Let's switch out the bacon strips for some pork loin bacon.
yep.
Yep.
Then you're doing good. And it's a step up scale.
It is.
I didn't start great. I used to work for Big Kibble. You know what I
Right.
mean? And I thought it was God, you know?
You
Yeah.
bet.
So a lot of it, and there's a lot of bashing, I think, within people in our industry when people change their mind.
Mm-hmm.
And like you're allowed to learn and do better. Like I think it was Billy Hokeman. I was at the Nautical Dog event last year and we were talking about like HPP and he's like, I used to go on live streams in front of hundreds and thousands of people and bash HPP so bad. And he's like, then I actually started talking to like the Steve's Real Food research scientists and looking into it, and I've changed my view. And it's like, if you want to beat me up for that, that's what science is. If you can't learn and do better, then you're really limiting yourself to just. I mean, like, I feel that way about Crocs. I've been bashing Crocs my whole life, and I just can't. I won't get a pair now.
I
So
wouldn't
those
either.
ones.
I wouldn't either because they're filled with plastic.
Yeah,
Uh,
I don't need PFAS sinking in
Yeah.
my the soles of my feet. But
You know, you
Exactly.
sweat on the bottom of your feet. You got pores that's coming in. Just throwing it out there. 5 years, Crocs is going to be out.
yeah, Tom Kennedy, get him. So it's a lot. There's a lot of bad out there, and you're probably going to figure it out one thing at a time. And just don't beat yourself don't beat yourself up for not knowing everything. It's this industry and this whole corrupt world's fault for tricking you and being so good at it.
And
And
it's a forever process. You're always going to be learning something, and that's where the changing your mind comes in. Because as soon as you learn something new, and it's better than what you used to know, that's where, like you said, that's where the choice is made. That's where you have a choice to either do better going forward or stick with what you're doing and knowing that it's not the best that you can do.
Yep.
And so I love that. You are allowed to change your mind on things. So you were talking earlier about like building relationships with the farmers,
mhm.
and I freaking love that. I had a family farm. It was in our family for over 125 years, so I got this beautiful, blessed like part of my childhood was amazing
So
on a
jealous.
farm. So yeah, it was good and bad. There's a blessing and a curse to this because the blessing was I got to eat this beautiful food, but I also got to know what real food was. And so when I went back to the city, I couldn't eat. I could even when I was a child, I couldn't eat the vegetables or the fruit because it didn't taste right. So,
Yeah.
and that was in the 80s, and just think about where it's gotten now. But I would love to hear a little bit about like how this is like your relationship with these people, with these farmers who are just amazing, like salt of the earth type people that are doing amazing things that I wish there was more of them. But that's a huge a piece that I think people overlook about what you do.
Yeah.
So, what's the biggest lesson you've learned from working directly with the source?
There's just I have so much respect for the people that have to do the hard part. Like especially my quail and rabbit. Quail and rabbit are two of those stock that you can grow and process fully on your own. Cows and pigs and stuff, you have to go through a like a slaughterhouse, basically a processor, where they have vets on staff. But really, it's when you get down to individual farmer level, if a cow gets sick, they care. It's not just like shove it off to the side, whatever, number 628. They want that animal to be healthy. They want it to be happy. They care about the quality of its life, not only because that, impacts the quality of the product that you're getting from it, but there's a respect with it too. And I know this show gets a lot of hate, but if you don't know anything about farming, go watch Clarkson's Farm, Jeremy Clarkson. Have you ever seen it?
No,
Mm-mm.
no.
So he's like a British comedian that did a car show for the longest time, and then he left and decided to like start a farm, and it really truly shows like the good, the bad, the ugly of how much money he doesn't make and how hard everything is, and then these animals get sick and how heartbreaking it is when, they lose babies and things like that. And it's not a moneymaker. These small farms are just trying to feed their families and just trying to leave a legacy and just trying to keep their land and everything that they're going for the next generation that hopefully wants to take it over. And the small American family farm is disappearing, and I just think that's heartbreaking. So I know there's a lot of movements right now to get young people back into farming. I'd say all the time, I'm like, I'm so disappointed in myself that I don't think I could raise and process my own food because it's hard when you're not raised with it.
Yeah.
It's I'm like I force myself to watch these processing videos, not in like a sick way, but I feel like if I'm benefiting from all of these lives, that I should have to see the hard part. Um, and it does humble me because they care so much about it. There's a lot of humility in the processing and the raising and choosing the food and choosing the breeding pairs, and you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's beautiful.
Um,
That's like almost poetic, actually.
I just have so much respect for the farmers, and so being able to work directly with them, and I like that if even at a minor level I get to benefit them and put some more money back in their pocket for something that maybe wouldn't be seen as valuable otherwise.
Hmm.
My quail farmer, I got him started from the beginning. Like, I kind of paid extra for the first 6 months to a year or whatever, because he set up his whole process for me based on what we think that they should eat and how many they should be in a cage and what that cycle should look like so that we can harvest not only, your chicks, it's a natural byproduct of them is the chicks from these hatcheries. We can use the whole egg and feel good about everything that's in and on them. We can use the whole bird, including all those organs, and feel good about everything that's in and on them and their life and know that they were killed humanely. And yeah, like I said, I just think it's such an under-respected thing. And I think that if more people understood kind of the, I don't know, is it the plight of the American farmer and how hard they work just to keep their legacies going, that you'd care more to go into it. But it's hard because we're also all broke.
Yeah.
And farm raised meats are not cheap. So, pick and choose where you can. Um, it's a complex thing, isn't it?
It really is. Yeah. I know that like you don't realize that a farmer who loses one cow to a sickness, that's like an entire month's worth of earnings that they could be
Years
just out the
that
door.
they invested in that cow also.
Yeah.
And maybe it disrupts their breeding program, which might impact it for years to come. Um, and it's just so much more. So when you work with small farms, you know that that one animal, and it's like when I get beef ears, they come with the tags on them. And these are a lot of times like kids' 4-H cows. So they'll have a name on it. And I'm like, oh, Daisy. It's always Daisy. It's always Daisy. You know what I mean? I'm like,
Always. But I mean, they're going to a good cause, though,
yeah,
and that's that's in the end, it's like they are put on this earth to be food by whatever you believe in, and that's better than going to, like you said, an extrusion plant or, whatever, just getting tossed in a landfill or something.
Well, our sourcing, I mean, we don't even know where half our animals are coming from now that we get rid of all these big farmers, and minimize them for corn and soy farms, So there's a lot of issues with
glyphosate
that
cover.
too. So it's like people spend their money, hard times to spend their money on themselves to get the proper meats. I know our grocery stores the meats are garbage,
Yeah.
in a city, it's like loaded with color added and filtered out and
Organic crap that's fed
grass
corn
fed
and
that's
Right.
not
soy.
completely grass fed and you're still paying high dollar, like just a
Oh,
bunch
I
of
mean, and the language that you have to wade through on your own food, free range, cage free,
Yep.
whatever. It's
Yep.
crazy. I'm craving some land. That's our law. I'm not allowed to get
Same.
chicken
Hi,
until I get
sound
some
like
more
us.
land.
We need to
But
get
it's
like a little like community or
Compounds. Get
commune
like
or something
yeah.
of
I want it. I crave it. Just give it. Yeah.
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 Totally.
It's hard. It's so hard because it's like, sometimes you just need to feed your family, so you got to buy that generic chicken. And it's like such a tug on the conscience. Um, yeah, I just think it's I have so much respect for these animals. Like I think I've emphasized that, you know what I mean? When we get rabbit heads, it is a little sad because you can see what color they were and what breed they were. And, I get a lot of hate about the rabbits because they have pet value now. Um, and I tell people that I'm like, you're so angry about this rabbit. Is it just because it's cute? Why don't you care about chickens? Chickens are extremely personable. Like they're amazing pets and really friendly and sweet, and cows and pigs.
Pigs. Yeah.
Um, and so we have a lot of respect and we really try to waste as little as possible. Like even when we're doing pork hides, any of the scraps, we'll use everything down to the smallest scraps as like a mini stick chew and things like that. Any of the ugly bits go to my dogs and my employees. Like we throw away as little as possible, because I just think it's a kind of a disrespect, like I said, to just waste parts of something that was a life.
Yeah. Well,
And
that's
it's
beautiful.
it's it's a weird little world that I live in, but I like being able to
These
talk to
farmers,
people
these
about it because
relationships that
yeah.
you have with them, and I love that because it's super. It hits home really close for me. But can you share like a little emotional, like behind the scenes kind of connection that you've had with your supply?
Oh, like I said, I love cows. And that was kind of when I said I was a vegetarian. And then when I started eating meat again, I said I would only eat things that I felt that I could kill myself, which is such a weird thing, right? When I was like 22. But I think that if I can't kill it, I don't know that I deserve to be eating it. And I've changed since now. Now we're CrossFitters, so we eat all the meat. You know, you're not a CrossFitter unless you tell everyone you CrossFit. But um, and so I love cows. And that was I didn't eat beef because I was like, I just love cows, those sweet angel babies with their stupid little pink tongues, and I just think that they're the cutest things ever. So the beef ears can be a little sad, like I said, because you'll get like Daisy Humdinger, and you're like, oh, thank you, Daisy. Like,
Yeah.
and then there's definitely some really cute rabbits and the hides and stuff, and I'm sitting there trying to cut them, and I just find myself petting it a little bit, and I'm like, this is really weird. This is weird, right? But it is, I think important in this to have humanity, because there's a lot of I want to point this out too. There's a lot of companies doing what looks like the same thing as me.
Yeah.
And PetSmart carries tracheas and things like that. We are not the same.
Nope.
We are not the same. Ask them where it comes from. Ask them what farm. Ask them how many hands it's gone through. It's not. It's a machine processed it and chemically cleaned it. It's this, and that. And especially in the chew industry, we're under a exemption where I don't even have to tell you what's in it.
Yeah.
I do, because it's, I'm honest, and it's also, there's nothing in it. It's a duck wing or a beef trachea. But they don't have to tell you. So, I went up to a local franchise pet store because I was going to kind of pitch myself to them. Like, hey, I live here, you live here. But I noticed that they carry beef tracheas and stuff. And before I explained what I did, I was like, oh, so like, do you make these yourself? They're like, yeah, we source them. I was like, okay, where do you source them from? She's like, and then I like looked at the sticker, and it's like from South America, and it just says South America. We're in South America.
Just the continent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so that's where these like massive just fields and fields and fields and fields and miles upon cattle are.
Yeah.
And they just, pluck them piece and part. And it's not necessarily even, sure, it has glucosamine. It's a lot of it is the intention and kind of honesty.
Yeah.
And trust with our products. It's not just a treat, it's the intention behind it too.
Mm-hmm. I love that, the energies and all that stuff. And I mean, you were talking a little bit about like people getting mad at you because they see a rabbit face or something like that. And it's like, well, so here's the thing. And I'm just asking this because that rabbit was killed. It lived a life, and then it was killed for a reason, to be food. Mm-hmm. What is the difference between what we're doing by slowly poisoning our pets to death and then killing an animal for slaughter? Because it's kind of the same thing, except for these are pets that are supposedly our family members, and we're just slowly poisoning them until they have human diseases and cancers and just things that you would never wish upon your worst enemy.
Mm-hmm. I personally think that willful obesity is abuse. You're killing your dog.
Yeah.
If you don't know better and your dog's a little chunky and you're just like, oh, he's a lab and he's chunky, and nobody's ever like really educated about it, I'll give you a pass. Let me educate you about it. And it's the same thing, like if you know better and then you choose not to do better.
Yep.
Now I'm going to have an issue with you. And I try not to. That's one of those things that I get a little brutal on the internet with. Like,
yeah.
I take, it's just the easiest thing. Like, just literally feed your dog less. Mm-hmm. And it's the same thing.
Same thing with us.
Yeah, no kidding. It's just, it's hard. I get a lot of hate for rabbits. I'm like, this is the biological prey animal. Yes, they're cute. They are cute. It is also the basic food item for like 90% of the predators on the planet. And there's nothing you can do to change that. That is nature. You can't be mad at a wolf for killing a rabbit, just like I'm not mad at your dog for catching a rabbit in the backyard. It's following its biology. Maybe give it a more constructive and parasite-free way to do it, because, your dog might not have as strong of an immune system as a wolf. But people that are like, oh my God, he just won't stop digging groundhog holes or like chasing the rabbits. And I'm like, he's just doing his job.
Yep.
Yeah. And digging is part of that thing you were talking about at the beginning when we were talking about grounding. We're talking about dogs are closer to the earth than we are. they're actually digging to get more grounding and also minerals from the soil because they're lacking this from their horrible diets. And
Yeah. And
it's
they're
just
more
things
in
that you
touch
learn.
with it. They know what they need. They know when they need soil or grass or salts or things like that. Like, have you ever
Yeah.
seen the kind of like mineral buffets that they do for horses and chickens and stuff?
Right.
I just think that's so cool. You can put
Yeah.
Yeah.
cobalt salts or whatever it is, mineral salts out, and they just instinctively know selenium that our soils are deficient in and all these things. They know where they need to supplement. And I'm like, we're so out of touch with that. Our bodies try to tell us, like, hey, you need salt. You need whatever it is. I'm not going to call
Humic and
all
you need
all
humic
cravings
acid,
insatiable.
fulvic acid. You need these things that we're basically stripping out of our water that we used to get from spring waters and things like that. It's also our pets need all these things just like we do, and it's crazy.
Yeah,
But
even
we also
craving
think
greasy
that,
foods like your body needs fats.
yeah,
Doesn't necessarily need French fries. I didn't need that ice cream last night, but maybe I needed some fat. My body was
hey,
Right. Yeah.
we've been told
maybe.
a lot of things that are just not true. They're just not true. Like fat is bad, cholesterol is bad,
Hmm.
eggs are bad. Just all these things that we've been told over the years, decades of marketing. And we here at Pure Positivity, like the way we see things is that pets are basically a mirror for our own transformation if we let them be. And it's not just nutrition. It's the nervous system. It's bonding. It's truly about consciousness, which you were talking about with the farming. So how do you see pet wellness affecting humans?
A lot of people kind of see, maybe they're not as much of dog people as we are. I get that. I'm crazy. You know what I mean? Like my dogs, I eat, sleep, breathe. I am in touch with my dogs every single day. Like, Scarlett's looking slightly thin today. Maybe I need to, you know what I mean? Every single day. Not everybody's like that. But when we have these conversations, a lot of people are like, well, my joints hurt. Should I be doing something like that? Yeah, you should
Yes.
be. Yes, you
Yep.
Yep.
should be watching your body condition and trying to eat more balanced. Yeah, you should be supporting what hurts in a natural way before it becomes an issue. And I do see people, I also like in a good and bad way, we see obviously the human health industry changing a lot right now. No matter what side of it you're on, I think that vetting and progression are usually a good thing. And I like that things seem to be leaning backwards. We're going back to a little bit more of homesteading. We're going back to growing your food, whether that's by necessity or by choice. We're going back to turmeric and mushrooms and herbal teas and ferments. You know what I mean? I'm like I've seen more krauts and kombuchas, and I drink a drink base that's like herbs and vinegar that you mix with seltzers. You know, and it's not as it's not picking up as much as I'd like, but we're heading in the right direction, I think. And like I said, I think the more we can get that kind of accepted as normal. Every time that I see like one of my crunchy foods make it into Aldi, and I'm like, oh, we're doing it. Okay, we got Manuka honey
Oh.
in Aldi. We got ghee in, you know what I mean? I'm like, we're winning. The crunchy
Uh,
people are winning. It's funny. It's also kind of funny because I've been in these like crunchy mom groups. I have a 5-year-old, like I said, and I'm like, I've been in these crunchy mom groups for so long. And then like they'll put out a study like, turns out delayed cord clamping actually does reduce the blah blah. I'm like, it's almost like we've been saying that for years. I'm like,
hmm.
fine. Like when they canceled the dyes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no shit.
Yeah.
You should have done
Yeah.
that a long time ago. You knew it was toxic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah,
And
it
the
takes
fact that
20 years.
anybody still trusts these people to have good intentions when they had the studies telling them that it caused cancer and they were still putting it in cancer patient nutrient drinks.
Yeah.
Yep.
Wild.
Am I a conspiracy theorist? Maybe.
Yeah.
But
I think you
it's
can
kind of
drop a
validating when
theory.
the conspiracy theorists are true.
Conspiracy factualist.
Yep. You can
Yeah,
drop the word theory off of there. It's
I
just
know.
conspiracy.
I
But I
think
love go ahead.
Jessica from Pet Parenting Reset and I had a whole conversation about this. And then we kind of hung up and we're like, All right, so I think we are the same here. So we're going to end up
Yeah.
doing our own little podcast about it because it's crazy. It's crazy out there right now.
It is.
Especially
I
what's
love
happening in
it.
the hemp industry. Have you ever seen Reefer Madness?
Yes, oh my God, that movie, guys. I'm telling you, that movie is literally the movie that made me quit smoking cigarettes. And I smoked cigarettes for 10 years. You know, when I was younger, stupid, you know, whatever in the 90s and early 2000s. That movie made me quit smoking cigarettes because it literally asked me, "Are you smarter than the cigarette companies? Because they don't think so."
And now the cigarette companies own the candy companies and the soda companies because nobody wants them anymore.
And then who do they own? All of our pet foods.
They also were all in the 80s. They were in it, and they started bringing in all those cigarette big tobacco. Went into they bought up all the sugar foods, and guess what else? Pet foods and all that. And then that same marketing has traveled through how many decades now?
Yeah. And God forbid small companies like us or small farmers are suffering financially, but everybody's like, oh, you're just doing it for the money. What the
Yeah.
hell are they doing?
Yeah, I don't have a
Billions of
million
dollars
dollar
later.
marketing budget.
Yeah.
And look
Awful.
who did the cigarette companies buy in the 70s, 80s, whatever? Doctors.
Yep.
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 They used to
100%.
tell pregnant women to smoke cigarettes.
I know.
Yeah.
You know,
Well,
and I'm like,
I love your word crunchy because that's that's a new one. We haven't heard that yet because we got called.
see, that's
What do we
like
get?
foreign
Granola.
language to me.
We get
Yeah.
called
Or
granola
granola.
recently. So,
Crunchy
Like,
granola is the
crunchy
same.
granola.
yeah. So cool. I like the crunch. I like crunchy.
I
We're
like
crunchy.
crunchy better.
Yeah, it's good.
We call ourselves sort of crunchy because I'm like, yeah, no, I for sure try to get lean, animal-based protein as the bulk of my diet, but I also eat custard in the shower.
Hey,
And I know
I
it's
mean,
bad for me.
you got to
Did
have
I
some.
have an emotional support beer last night? Maybe.
Yeah, there you go. You got to have some
Yeah.
rascality in there. I say like a 90-10, like 90% good, and then 10% whatever the fuck you want.
Yeah.
You know, and that's because you
You
got
gotta
to
live.
life. We're only here for a short time. You got to enjoy it, you know. And if that's
Word.
whatever custard in the shower, that sounds like a great time. So,
It's called parenting a 5-year-old, yeah, while owning
yeah,
a business.
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
like,
that makes sense.
I need a release.
Well, good for you for doing that. I mean, being an amazing parent who's conscious and present and everything, because it's
Yeah.
hard to
Super
do.
cool for your kid too, because like we said, we're all kids. We didn't know about these pet food things. So
Yeah.
now your child's gonna learn, like, hey, whatever pet she gets in the future, she knows how to feed it.
Explaining the life cycle to a 3-year-old when he's like, "Mommy, why did you kill the bunny?" And I'm like, "Oh no!" Like,
Oh,
Yeah.
well, buddy, some animals are, are pets, and some animal. And we've had that conversation, and I'm like, I look forward to. I say this all the time. There's so much that we just need to get the younger generation involved in because that's the only way that you can create better adults is by raising cool, humble kids.
and being honest and transparent and yeah, being there,
Yeah,
giving them your time, not being at work all day.
yeah. And that's why I'm like, I am certainly not making as much money as I could. I have a very expensive college degree. And I could go back and get a very, very, very high paying pet food industry job right now.
Yeah.
But, I wanted to be a vet and then I wanted to do all this and it just wasn't practical. I knew also that I wanted to have a family. It was not that I didn't grow up like, I just want to be a mom when I grow up, but I knew that I wanted a family and I knew that I wanted to be balanced. And I knew I wanted to be in touch with my life and be able to garden and be able to travel. Because, yeah, life's short. You don't know. I could get hit by a car tomorrow. And it's important to not sell out to
Yeah.
whatever's. And, you got to survive. You got to make a paycheck. And I feel so lucky all the time that I was able to take my passion and make it into something that pays my bills most of the
Yeah.
time. And and it's hard because in the beginning stage of business, I don't have loans, I don't have investors and marketing budgets, and it's sometimes like I pay my employees or I pay myself,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and it is a grind, but it feels so good to be able to stick to my morals.
Your values.
Yeah, to be able to stick to my values and still have a good life. And I have an extremely positive outlook on everything. Like, yes, things get crazy sometimes, but I'm like, nothing can be bad as long as I'm following what I feel like. And I'm not a religious person, but I am a spiritual person. I'm like, I just feel like I'm doing the right thing. I know that I have good intention and I know that I'm putting positive energy out there to create change in the world. That's it.
Yeah.
I'm happy. My kid is happy. I have food on the table, and this business is growing just because people trust me. And,
Yeah.
I've gotten so many big names in the industry now that are just like, they found me because of people telling them that I had the right attitude. And I'm like, you know my name? You're somebody that I've been idolizing. I mean, I hugged Rodney Habib and Karen Becker last summer.
Good.
That's awesome.
You know what I mean? And Dr. Judy Morgan and all of these amazing people that I idolize, and turns out they're just like nice, really cool people. You would also like Billy Hoekman.
Yeah.
Super nice guy. He's just like a punk rock dad that loves goats and fermented things.
Good for
Cool.
you. And I love that
That's
you,
huge.
just like what we say it all the time, that like at the end of the day, as long as you can lay your head down on the pillow and you can shut your eyes and fall asleep. I mean, I feel like there's a lot of people out there who can't do that, that are worth millions of dollars or whatever, and they just, I guarantee they don't feel good about what they do.
Yeah.
Well, abundance is a very unique word for everybody, and what you have going on is fully abundant, and a lot of people don't know how to attain that.
I'm
So good
rich
for you. That's awesome.
in ways that aren't just money based.
Yeah,
Exactly.
that's great.
And it's a grind. I mean, like, I don't want people to think I'm just over here like sunshine and roses and omelets.
yeah.
And no, it's a grind, but it's worth it. I tell people all the time, they're like, well, so like what would happen if your company goes down? I'm like, well, it can't fail because it's not just a business, it's my life, it's my
Yeah.
passion. The
Exactly.
business is me, I am my business. And that's the nice thing about social media. And I was just talking to Kara on Raw Remedies about this. I'm like, it's easy to do this because it just is me. And I've just accepted that now. I talked to a couple of people out at Super Zoo, and they're like, well, what do you do with your social media? You just have to be yourself. And I was like, oh, that's scary. Even that's scary. But then you find people like yourselves.
Yeah.
And I have so many friends that I've literally never met. And I talk to regularly. And we're like simpatico, which
I
is
love
fun.
it. Well, I'm sure that we could literally talk all day,
Yeah.
so we don't want to take up too much of your time. So let's just end with one more question here. Well, two, but what's one thing that you wish every pet guardian knew today?
I think if I could just like implant one little like brain tick in everybody in the whole world, it's just understanding the cycle of health and kind of like I said, like that cascade effect. It's something that I don't think you understand until you understand it. Like the wolves in Yellowstone, okay? They're like, wolves are bad. They're killing things, right? Let's remove the bad things, okay? But then the whole cycle was thrown out of balance.
Right.
And that's what we're living in now. We remove, just cut the appendix out. Well, you're taking away something, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just wish that I could implant that little holistic cycle, and by holistic I mean whole body, environment, mind, body, spirit, land, everything, and how that works together. I think that would allow people to be much more open to the crunchy and the woo-woo things that are actually historically so impactful.
Yeah.
And actually just like basic nature, whether you want to
That's
raw
good.
feed or not.
Yeah, no,
I
that's
just
great.
wish we put it in there.
I think that a lot of people are just afraid, like they're afraid, like you were saying about afraid to be yourself. I think that a lot of people feel that way, and that they're afraid to even just ask a basic question because they're going to get trolled or hated or look stupid or whatever.
Yeah.
And I say it all the time, healing, it truly just starts with asking questions. Like that's the easiest place to start.
Yeah, closed-mindedness is a cancer in its own.
Yeah.
It might not be something that you can cut out, but it's insidious. You lose so many opportunities, and it just shuts you off to things versus, I'm like, I've noticed through time and through losing and gaining friends, like just closed-mindedness is just something that I think it's so unfortunate. And that's, I think by that whole crunchy and, just open-mindedness.
Yeah.
Look at the other things that seem weird and ask questions.
Yeah,
I listen
exactly.
to the kibble doctors. I listen to the crazy raw doctors like Ian Billinghurst. Form your own opinions.
Yep, that's awesome.
Be a conscious consumer.
So Lauren, where can people connect with you, stalk your carnivore crate, and join the Girls Gone Raw revolution, because they need to know?
Definitely. So we are online at girlsgonerawpet.com, and if you just type in Girls Gone Raw, you won't get anything weird. You will maybe get like a vegan site, but it's just me. And you can get me online at either, I think it's Instagram as Girls Gone Raw Pet Health, and then TikTok is Girls Gone Raw Pet, or Girls Gone Raw. And then the Carnivore Crate is under a tab on our website. You can learn more on there, and you're also free to message me. I answer all the questions, unfortunately. But even if you're not committed and you don't want to take the plunge, follow us on Instagram just for like podcasts like this and all the educational content. Let me open some doors for you. Let me put some little mind seeds in you and get you thinking about stuff like that you can do for your dog. 80% of what I do on there, sometimes I go on there and I'm like, man, you can't even tell what I sell. It's just education. So I love to get people on there. And yeah, I think I'll probably put up a code. They can use Pawsitivity, spelled Pawsitivity, as a discount code, and that'll get them 10% off online. We can try some stuff out. Feel free to go and grab one of everything. We do people,
Yeah,
we
do
do
it,
that all
guys.
the time. Try
Yeah.
something you wouldn't normally try. Your dog will probably love it. If they hate it,
Yeah.
I know I'm intrigued. I know we all want to try some for these little guys.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
saw your new shirts on there too.
Yep.
Those
Oh,
are so
listen.
cool.
New shirts,
I
awesome.
am so jazzed about that. That's one of those that I'm like, maybe I just make what I want to wear. And then all of a sudden, I've sold like 2/3 of them already. They're
Oh,
not
that's
even printed
fantastic.
yet. I was like,
Wow,
I
good
had
for
to
you.
email my designer, and I'm like, can we order some more? Like,
Yeah.
That's
yeah,
awesome.
isn't
Good
that
for
so
you.
cool?
Well,
The
we're
raw
gonna have to put an order
evolution.
in quick then, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I sent that to someone earlier. I'm like, I only have like one extra large left of both sizes, so you should probably
Oh,
order.
good
You
thing we're
know,
small.
We're small.
I love the crop tops. I'm a crop top girly.
Oh,
Sun
there
out,
you
Yeah,
guns
cool.
out. So,
go. Cool.
yeah, that was for all these events and stuff. I have Super Zoo and everything that I'm going to be out at. And I was like, polos are so boring. What if instead I wear pink Vans and a crop top?
There you go.
Yep.
So
Are you gonna
I
have
was
a
just
booth out
doing it.
there, or are you just going as
No, I'm too broke for
yeah,
that. I'm just
it's
kidding. It's
expensive.
like
It's really.
thousands of dollars.
I
I
know.
know.
It's
I just
even for
like to
like a
go and,
nonprofit.
oh, it's insane. Even just to go, like I tried to just like buy a ticket to go. It's like $1,000.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Wow.
oh no, no, I'm like, no,
No.
never mind. So last year I went with Green Line, which are like biodegradable pet poop bags. And she's like, you can have one of my passes. So I'm dragging my amazing boyfriend out with me, and we're gonna go meet everyone and go to all the parties. And it's just, I leave weekends like that, like glowing. Are you guys gonna be there?
We thought about it, but the price point too, and
Yeah.
I mean it's so close to us. Being in Arizona, Vegas is right there.
Yeah. We have a couple of things that
would
need
see.
to happen before, but it's just like if that happens, we'll be there. It's like a 50-50.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm trying to make it out there. There's just so many cool events that I love just hive minding. And I come out of them with so many ideas and just feel refreshed, like my cup has been filled. So
Yeah.
it's a lot of fun. And we're going to travel. We're doing Zion and stuff this year too. Going out
yeah.
there.
Right on.
Nice.
Well, if you're ever in the Phoenix area, hit us up
Yes.
because
Yeah.
we'd love to meet you. And
I should. I have so many people in Arizona. So many.
Yeah. Reach
Like
out.
a strange amount compared to any other state. Everyone's in Arizona.
Oh,
there's a
interesting.
large, oddly, a large like holistic pet movement happening here in the Phoenix area.
Something about the, isn't there like energy wells in,
I mean, in
in Arizona?
Sedona,
Is it
Sedona definitely
Sedona?
has like the vortexes and things like that.
Yeah, there's some sweet desert spots, but you know, once you get in the city, it's the city.
The
And
woo.
it's
Yeah.
like
I
a
love
concrete
that.
jungle, so we're always trying to get out
I
too.
might actually, if you see me laying on the ground in the desert, just mind your own business.
Yeah.
I just need
I
some
get that.
energy. I need some more. My coffee's
Yeah.
not working. Anyway,
Oh, right on. Well, that was Girls Gone Raw, guys. This is Lauren. She's the founder. If you weren't already questioning what's in your pet's bowl, you probably are now. These women are the real deal. Boots in the soil, hearts in the mission, and crates full of kind nutrition that actually honors your animal. So go check them out. Get on their website. The Carnivore Crate is freaking awesome. We talked about that. Learn about her the relationship that she actually has with real farmers. Support the brands that they're not just a game. We're actually out here changing it. So at Pure Positivity, we believe raw is more than a recipe. It's a return to instinct, a reclamation. So thanks for listening to Born to be Raw today. And Lauren, thank you so much for being on. We will
thank you.
definitely be in touch.
Yeah, thanks, guys.